Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to OKKO Let's Be Heroes, episodes 14 through 16. And I'm going to adjust this real quick. Okay. I think that's a little better. Okay, so, last episodes were pretty good. Gave some depth to some more characters, such as Rad, and that's always appreciated. I like it when a show can give us depth to characters like this. But we need to move on with 3 more episodes today. Especially since this show actually has quite a few episodes in this season. And excuse me if I sound out of breath. For some reason I am. I don't know, it's like I was walking around the house a little bit, but that's about it. Ooh, am I really? I'm definitely, I would say I'm out of shape, for sure, but geez. Take a breath. Okay. Okay, so, this will make up, with episode 16, with these about being half-length, each, that means we've only basically gotten through 8 episodes, like 8 full-length normal episodes, in total. And there are 53 total, which means there's about 26 and a half full-length episodes, and we've only gotten through 8. Now here's the thing. I was mentioning before how we were going to, like, you know, after season 1 of OKKO, we were going to take a break and move on to something else, but with as many episodes as there are, I think we're going to actually take a break in the middle of the season, more closer to what we did with the Loud House season 1. So the idea is probably after episode 13, we'll take a break, we'll move on to a different show, and then sometime down the line, we'll come back to the second half of OKKO season 1. So if we do up to episode 13, and again, that's normal episode 13. So that would be episode 26. That would mean after today's episodes, we have 10 episodes left. Well, okay, 5 full-length episodes, 10 of the actual episodes, because they're mini-sodes. So yeah, we have up to episode 26 normally, which is equal to episode 13. Which we could do in probably 2 or 3 more weeks. So that is the plan right now. But yeah, I know nothing about these episodes we're doing today. I don't know what they're about, who they focus on, etc. But I am hoping that this starts to get more like Steven Universe soon, in the way that it starts to build a actual story soon. Because right now, all we've really got is that KO is working at the place. I can't think of what it's called at the moment. The store, Gar's store. He's working at Gar's store, and with Enid and Rad, and they're getting up to misadventures, making new friends, having fun, doing some silly things, and that's about it. Learning some lessons even, but there's not a story to the show. It's as episodic as it can get. And the thing is, Steven Universe really started out the same way. The only kind of story you could say Steven Universe had at the beginning was that the crystal gems were protecting the Earth from these monsters. That's really all you knew. But it built up things later on and started to give you more and more as it went on. And I think KO is starting to do similar things, but it's not quite gotten there yet. There are definitely things that are connecting. But I think it could do more, you know? I just think it could actually start to give us something more. I don't expect anything like really big, any huge massive plot line yet, or anything like nothing like what Steven Universe is currently doing. But just something. Just kind of something. Maybe something involving, like, superhero society, like how it all functions and everything. Just some ongoing storyline, even if it's just for a few episodes, that might pull things together in a way, and maybe even make connections for the future. Right now, I think that would be really appreciated. Because I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again here. I don't have an issue with episodic shows. There are a lot of episodic shows I grew up loving. Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, etc., etc. Scooby-Doo, the original Scooby-Doos and stuff. I don't really have an issue with episodic shows. It just has to do enough to keep my attention and change things up enough to make it worthwhile. There are some shows that do both, but at least one of them, at least as long as it keeps it interesting enough to keep my attention. OKKO so far has been a little bit of this of both. It definitely keeps it interesting, keeps it entertaining, keeps it fun. But then, of course, there are a couple times where it changes things up, such as with the Dendi episode, or with one of last week's episodes where it further developed Rad a bit. Like, that was nice. I want more stuff like that, but I want it to become more of a norm than the random exception, you know? That's all I'm asking. I don't expect it to be anything like every week or every episode, but I just want it more often. I feel like this show has so much potential to be, like, more than just good. I feel right now that's what it is, though. It's just good. It has some definite potential of greatness, but it hasn't yet reached that point itself. So, hopefully it proves me wrong, and hopefully this week's set of episodes are enough to really impress me. And even if not, like I said, it's still a fun show, and I'm still enjoying it, but there has to be a point where it has to do enough to really warrant me wanting to continue, especially with doing reactions to it. I don't want it to end up being like Wander Over Yonder, where it gets really old. Oh, excuse me. It gets really old and formulaic really quickly and just starts to lose my interest. Because that was Wander Over Yonder's big problem. It was too formulaic. It was too much of the same thing every single episode. And OKKO, like I said, so far it's been keeping me on my toes. So far it's been doing enough to switch things up every now and again, to do some different things with its characters. And right now I'm still good, but I am saying that while there is potential for it to be amazing, there is also potential here for it to kind of go downhill. And I really hope that the former happens rather than the latter. Because you can't just wait forever to really start to get things going. You have to start doing something a lot quicker than that. That's all I'm saying. But I'm really excited to see what these episodes have in store, and I'm just hoping that they do impress me enough. Either way, I'll at least be going on until the halfway point I mentioned before. But yeah, I'll talk more about that in my afterthoughts. I do want to get this started, so when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here and press play. Because after it's I don't know what I'm saying now. I don't know. For some reason, I'm on edge almost. I don't know. Like I said, I walked back and forth. Like I went to the bathroom. I walked into the kitchen, got a drink. Came back here, realized I forgot to get the mail earlier, went to get the mail, came back here again. I don't know, I wasn't going like super fast or anything, but for some reason I'm just like, ugh. Either way, so let's just start that entire thing over. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, And after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you at the reaction. Nailed it. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so we have 3 interesting episodes to talk about here, and let's start, of course, with Joe Cuppa. So, Joe Cuppa's an interesting episode. It's about a washed-up comedian who's down on his luck and kind of has to resort to trying to steal stuff from the Lakewood Plaza Turbo, basically just in order to get by, because he's had no gigs, he's had no jobs for months, or I think he said months, something like that. Either way, for quite a while, and he really doesn't know what to do with himself. So the others, our heroes, try to get to him to figure out what to do. They try to give him a job at the plaza. Doesn't quite work out because all he can do is make puns. They try to have him fight Shannon, and at first it's not working out either because he's not much of a fighter. But then they find out that apparently his bad jokes have the power to actually, do something, to actually act as a fighting skill. So he uses his bad jokes and puns in order to defeat Shannon. And it's a nice episode. The episode, I kind of feel, gives off this this almost message of never giving up. Even when things seem down, even when you're at your lowest, like, there's nowhere to go but up. You just have to keep trying. You just have to keep doing your best and making the most out of life. If something seems like it's not working like it used to, repurpose it. If it's something that you can do that with. And even if it's something you don't think you can, at least try. You'll be able to find something else. And I've been at points in my life where I've felt like really low like that, where I've felt like there was no way to go up. Like I would be stuck at the bottom of everything forever. And even thinking like logically about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to think like that, but a lot of people in depression and stuff and who have been like brought down so far, they don't view it that way. They think about it in a way that's like, that's illogical. That's just completely irrational. But to them, it's all that goes through their heads. And they can't just help it. They can't just get over it. It doesn't work like that. So I can kind of relate to it in a way. And it's like, even with finding something that I had done before that just wasn't giving me any joy or anything to look forward to anymore. I had been using the internet for a long time prior to my big depressive spell in 2013. But when I started to really, started to get back into it after discovering MLP and my life and my just happiness coming back to me, I started to do things in different ways, started to discover new parts of the internet and new things that I hadn't known about before, and it changed my life. So yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of different circumstances, but still. The second episode we had here is much more interesting, though. The second episode we had this week was called We've Got Pests. And this is probably one of my favorite episodes, right up there with Dendy. And let me explain why, because you might not initially think like this one would be necessarily one of my favorites. So, we have Enid being awesome. Enid is really cool. She's rad. She's not rad. Rad is rad, but you get the point. She's being really cool, and then these pests come in. The pests are these short little guys who are just kind of like these standard cool party animal type characters. They're very one-dimensional. They're very just really stereotypical. These kind of characters you see in a lot of different things, especially in the 90s. And they come off as very annoying to the viewer. But at first, Rad and KO see them as cool. And eventually they start hanging out with Enid, seeing how she's cool. And at first everything seems to be going okay, but then they decide they want to have a party. And so they invite all of these, like, probably hundreds of people into the plaza, and it gets overcrowded, things are going really wrong, and everything's just in trouble, basically. There's one actual customer there, and he wants one thing, but KO can't even get to it because of everything that's going on, and KO almost gets crushed. Enid is realizing that this isn't really cool, this is just destructive. And she saves the day and stops them and basically gets them to leave. But as they're leaving, she stops them one more time and tries to tell them. It's like, is this who you really are? Is this who you really are? Like, are you just this facade that you're putting on? Are you just the skateboard, the sunglasses? Are you just saying hashtag before everything? Is that who you want to be? Or do you want to actually make something of your life? Sometimes being cool is being real, being true to yourself. And the things she's saying here, like, it comes off as like this really cool moment for her. But when you really think about it, it's more than just a really cool moment. It's actually pretty damn inspirational. She's basically telling them, don't pretend to be someone else. Don't pretend to be cool just to fit in, just to feel like you're cool. To truly be cool is to be yourself and be completely unafraid of being yourself. To be cool is to embrace who you are and not try to put on this act that will please others in a lot of cases. And at first it seems like these three don't really take it to heart. They leave the store and it's like, okay. But then when they're outside of the store, they stand there and they split up, and they give this almost melancholy farewell to each other. Like when they're leaving, it's like, oh, see you later, and they're kind of like looking down and like they're clearly lost in thoughts. But it's like, if you really think about it, it's much more than just that. Just like with Enid's speech, you can clearly tell that really affected them, and that they're having trouble even coming to terms with that. You see Peach at home, looking in the mirror. He takes off his glasses, writes in the steam, "Who am I?" And it's like, shit, this is getting existential. But that was the wrong way for me to put it when I said that. Because it wasn't really going into this big existential thing. It was more along the lines of going into self-discovery. This is a thing that everybody goes through in their lives. At some point in your life, you have to discover who you are and who you want to be. You have to come to terms with who you've been up to that point. And you have to make a decision. You have to really think about things, really consider your options and possibilities. And it's hard. For a lot of people, it's extremely hard. A lot of people have put on such a front for so long. And this time doesn't come at the same time for everyone. It's not like you hit this magical age and you're automatically like, I'm going to adjust that, by the way. It's not like you hit this magical age and you're automatically like, it just hits your brain like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be. No. For someone, it might hit at 12 years old. For another, it might not hit until 30. The thing is, it's different for every person. For me, for example, it didn't hit until probably 2013, 2014. After I had already gone through high school, I had gone to college. And heck, I would even say it didn't truly hit. It didn't truly, really hit until just the past few years. When I say it didn't hit until 2013, 2014, that's when I really started to question things. That's when I really started to think about who I am and who I want to be. But it wasn't until just the past few years, like 2015, 2016, and I'm mostly saying 2016 here, where I really started to, get it. Because prior to that, I had kind of been living in my parents' shadow. I had been doing things that they wanted me to do. I had been living life in a way that they basically told me was the way to live life. And I wasn't being myself. My thoughts, my beliefs, everything was shaped in what they told me. I wasn't being true to myself. And it was because of shows like MLP that started to really change that for me. Shows that showed me it was okay to go away from the norm. That you didn't have to live your life in the bubble of your influence. You didn't have to be who others wanted you to be, even your parents. And so I started thinking about things, and I started to realize that I didn't agree with a lot of what they said. I didn't agree with a lot of their opinions, a lot of their viewpoints, a lot of their ideals on what makes a person, what makes a human being or an adult or whatever. And I started to form my own. I started to look at the world, I started to think, I started to use my own experiences and form my own self-image of myself. I know that was redundant, but still. So this is definitely something that connected with me, and that flash forward at the end almost made me cry. I was tearing up. I was trying to hide it and I was trying to keep it in, but I was tearing up at that. Because it showed that those words got through to these three kids, these three pests, that they started to question this. They started to question who they were and what they wanted to do with their lives. And in the end, they made something of themselves. It may not be what they always thought they wanted to do, but in the end, it was stuff that made them happy. Stuff that made them accept themselves. Accept who they wanted to be. The Peach, I think it was just Peach, or Peaches or something, became an author. Wrote a book called Who I Am. It went from Who Am I to Who I Am. This Peach, I don't know if it's supposed to be a boy or a girl. I do not know. So I'm just going to use they, them pronouns. But they wrote this book turning that question that they had back on its head. They discovered who they were, who they wanted to be, and used it to make something of themselves. And there were multiple people in the line to get the book signed and everything. So apparently it's a pretty popular book. And considering the book's title and everything, it's probably a book about that self-discovery, about coming to terms with who you are, and could kind of be seen as a self-help book. So not only did Peach find out who they are, they shared that with others in the same way that Enid shared that with them. And then Chillcat became a doctor. Chillcat became Chillium Cat OD from the School of Optometry, an eye doctor. That's wonderful. That's a really, really important job and career path to go down. And it shows that, once again, Chillcat wanted to pass that on. Wanted to pass on the, honestly, kindness that Enid showed to them. There's a movie that I like. called Pay It Forward. And it's all about this idea of when someone does something good for you, you pay it forward to someone else, not asking for anything in return. And the movie actually gets pretty sad, but the message is one of hope, one of life. That when someone does something nice for you, even if you're not doing something nice for them back necessarily, do something nice for someone. Pay it forward. And both Peach and Chillcat did that. Peach became an author selling a self-help book. Chillcat became an optometrist, helping people with eye problems. And then there was the little lizard dude whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. The lizard dude was the leader of the bunch. Just kind of this rascal of a guy who liked to cause trouble and everything. And as you saw at the end, when he tipped over the shelves and all, he had that evil look on his face. Like, it made a point of, like, showing that as menacing and everything. But the last thing you see in this episode is an adult version of him coming home from work to his loving wife and son, looking in a book of memories, and saying thank you to Enid for all that she did to change his life. Here come the tears. These kind of stories get to me. Because, again, I went through this. I didn't know who I was. I tried to be who I was told I needed to. And while it wasn't a singular person who saved me, who helped me, it was multiple people. It was shows. It was the influences that other people put out there. Stuff like My Little Pony that shares all of these wonderful messages about being yourself and being unafraid of being yourself, no matter who yourself is. Even if you're different from others. Even if some people might not always understand you. Shows like Star Versus, Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, all of them share these messages about embracing who you are. And living a life that is not being lived to please others, but a life that is there to please you, to a life that you can be proud of. And when I say not to please others, I don't mean like not helping others. Like, that's great to do. I mean, you shouldn't live your life for others' sake. You shouldn't try to live your life as others want you to live it, but rather how you want to live it. As long as you're not doing anything like horrible, you know, like murdering people or whatnot. But the end of this really gets to me. The end of it really gets to me because it shows that these people, or anything else, again, a game, a TV series, a movie, whatever, that whatever it is, it can influence someone. It can change someone's life. Turn them around from a life of destructiveness. Not just destructiveness towards other people, but towards yourself. And that to be the coolest person you can be, you just have to come to terms with being who you want to be. So yeah, it really it really hits me hard, and it's one of my favorite episodes of the show. And then there was The Legends of Mr. Gar, the third episode we watched today, and that one was more just fun. So KO was hearing these stories about Mr. Gar and how he gave off this amazing impression on the first day at work for both Rad and Enid. For Rad, he was this mentor figure, this guy who gave him, well, once again, bringing in the idea of self-confidence. He taught Rad to be confident in who he was and the powers he had. Because Rad was kind of this skinny little dude who had to lie to get by. Who had to make up these stories about himself and brag about things that didn't really exist. Because he was kind of ashamed of the power he had, his levitation. Because as he put it, all his family had it. It's not that special. But Gar told him, use it. Make it your own. When he was saying use it, he wasn't just literally meaning use it right now. He was saying use that power. Make it so that it is something that you own. Not what your family owns. And in that way, it reminds me of Shoto Todoroki from My Hero Academia. How he had to learn to accept his fire power as his power. Not his father's, but his. And use it in a way that can make him proud of it. Not using it just to please his father. And not foregoing using it just to get back at his father. So, yeah, it's really cool to see that. To see Mr. Gar be cool, not just in terms of his presence, but in the fact that he's actually just a really cool guy. And we see that in Enid's first day, she's kind of trying to please everyone. And she's trying not to say anything that will upset this customer, and the customer starts making a scene and being basically an asshole. And Mr. Gar basically tells him, no, we don't have that in stock right now. Thank you, have a nice day. And the lesson here is that the customer isn't always right, and I definitely want to talk about this. Because there is this idea in our society that a lot of employers spread and a lot of people spread that the customer is always right, that we always have to treat every customer with respect no matter what they say, no matter what they do, and that we have to always basically give in to them. If a customer comes up to you and says that that they ordered something that they didn't and tries to get you to give it to them for free or something, or if they come up to you and say that there's something wrong with their burger that is clearly something they put there, or whatever else. Those were just examples of things that happened when I worked at Wendy's. I didn't luckily have to deal with that myself because I was working the grill and the fry station, but still. The point is, you have to learn to be able to tell those customers no. The customer's not always right. I've seen a lot of videos, security footage videos online, of customers attacking employees, yelling at employees, starting fights, and with the idea of the customer's always right, they should just be given what they want. They should be given something. They should be rewarded for that, basically. But in almost all of those videos, what happens? They're escorted out by police. Other customers come to defend the employees. Or the employees themselves fight back. Sometimes physically, if it's absolutely necessary for self-defense. And sometimes they yell back. They tell them, no, you're not getting this. And I'm not saying that you should automatically do like this show says and like basically punch the customer out of the store, scream in their face. Only do that if it really comes down to it. You should try to be civil about it first, always. Physical action should only be taken in self-defense or defense of others. And action in terms of speaking out in an aggressive way, that should only be taken if being civil isn't working. But still, you have every right to tell a customer no. That's important, and I'm glad that this episode gave that to us. And of course, Enid has kind of taken this in a little bit of an extreme way, as we've seen with one of the past episodes, with her just ignoring a customer completely, and then basically getting away with her actions and framing him as the bad guy. I still don't like that episode, and I'm not going to let that go. Enid was the bad guy in that one, yet it framed the wizard as being the bad guy. But the point is, the message still stands. And then there was one last story in the Legends of Gar. This kooky old man tells this story about that apparently Gar lived in the clouds, came down and created the Lakewood Plaza Turbo by using his little robot friend as a seed, basically, to grow the plaza. And Gar says, like, that's exactly how it happened, but I think he's just, like, being Gar. I think he's just kind of hyping himself up and trying to give himself this really cool backstory kind of thing. And he's just saying, like, no, that's exactly how it happened. You could trust this guy this time. This time. I don't think that's actually his backstory. I think that was just a good, funny joke. But either way, this was a good set of episodes that had a great set of lessons. In my pre-thoughts and all, I said that I wanted this show to start to do something like bigger story-wise, and I don't think that these episodes were that. But I would liken these episodes more to the Dendi episode. An episode that, while not necessarily super important, although the Dendi episode did give us an awesome new character, these episodes were more about expanding the characters in the world and giving us some just great entertainment and some depth. Some legitimate, good depth. And I love that. I love it when a show can do that, especially if it's an episodic show. Especially an episodic show. Because when an episodic show can do that kind of thing, it gives me a reason to want to continue watching. And that's why I didn't like stuff like Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated or Wander Over Yonder. It didn't give me that kind of stuff that I wanted. Even though Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. was starting to try and start this story by the time I dropped it, at that point it had become too late for me. It ruined the characters that I grew up loving. And it did nothing with its concepts and stories. And just made me just not care. And Wander Over Yonder just didn't do anything. But for the amount of time I watched it. It was the same basic thing every single time. And I know that Wander Over Yonder does eventually get a plot involving Lord Dominator. And I have seen a few clips of her and everything. And by the way, I love her. She is adorable. And just really fun. But I'm not going to push myself to force myself to watch through a bunch of crap just to get to some gems. I think an entire show should have gems. I'm not saying it should only be gems. There of course needs to be some poor episodes to balance it out and just to be honestly realistic. Steven Universe has bad episodes. My favorite show of all time, The Legend of Korra, has bad episodes. MLP has bad episodes. My favorite anime, My Hero Academia, believe it or not, has bad episodes. Though, maybe in some cases not as bad as others, but still bad compared to the rest. And overall, everything that you watch is not going to be perfect. But when a show can do like what OKKO did with these 3 episodes, and give us some really meaningful lessons, while still being fun and entertaining, and still being episodic with them, that's fine. I do still want a big story to come along, but right now, this is holding things off. And I know these afterthoughts have gone on quite long now, but I needed to talk about this. I needed to talk about all of these different messages in these episodes, and the fact that, in a way, I connected with a lot of them. They mean a lot to me, personally, and that's why they hit me so hard. It's awesome. And I really hope the show continues to do this. There's definitely going to be more bad episodes. There's going to be episodes that leave me wondering if I should drop it or not. But then episodes like this will come along. Tell me what you thought of these 3 episodes in the comments below. And thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are part of the reason why I'm still here today. I know I'm getting really serious and really emotional here, but I'm telling the truth. Your guys' kind comments, your praise of my videos that I honestly think is completely undeserved, your views, your tuning into my live streams, even something as simple as telling me you really enjoyed my reaction to something. It means a lot. And it keeps me going. There are a lot of days when I feel really down. I feel really depressed or angry. And seeing these kind of comments, seeing these kind of, these reactions to my reactions get me through them. So yeah, I'm going to be serious here. I'm going to be emotional. Because it's warranted. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Please. Please keep it up, not just for me, but for others. Pay it forward. On all of these different channels you watch, no matter what content they do, when you enjoy their content, tell them so. It means a lot to them. I guarantee it. It means a lot to know that their content is appreciated, that they're doing something. And especially if it's someone out there who helps you, tell them so. Because that'll mean more than anything to them. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.